Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you guys here. In today's video I want to share my thoughts on 4 fragrances from Afnan. Just recently the brand sent me a PR package, which I'm very thankful for. Can I just make like a quick side note, you guys? I've been on YouTube for 3.5 years, I feel like, and it's such a beautiful feeling when a brand that I spoke so much about on my channel recognizes my work, appreciates my work, and wants to include me on their PR list. So thank you so much to the team from Afnan. I'm very grateful. So as you guys, like I've mentioned, they sent me 4 fragrances, and in today's video we will be discussing these 4 fragrances. I will let you know how the fragrances smell like, how they develop, if they remind me of other fragrances, who I feel like would enjoy them, would I recommend them, and if I would, then to whom. So let's just start. I don't want to make this video extremely long. Let's start with the first fragrance. I have here Hawaa Pink from Zimaya, a sub-brand of Afnan. I will show the presentation and then let's talk about the fragrance. Let me grab a piece of paper. Here are the notes for the fragrance, by the way, and let me tell you how this fragrance smells like. So you guys, Hawwa, this is for the lovers of Delina. Right from the start, you guys, this follows a very similar direction. Now, if you were to ask me, is this more similar to Delina the OG or to Delina exclusive? I'd say this definitely is more similar to the OG Delina, but let me tell you how the fragrance opens up. So this opens up with a bright citrusy accord. I detect here bergamot. The bergamot feels, like I've mentioned, light, bright, slightly effervescent, slightly sparkling, that sweet and sour type of bergamot. But at the same time, it's a very gentle citrusy accord. It's not a type of citrus accord that overpowers all the other notes. Let's just say it's quite a balanced citrus accord. It just adds a lot of lift to the opening of the fragrance. So I detect this beautiful bergamot accord on a base of florals, you guys. This to my nose is definitely a floral forward fragrance with different accents as the fragrance, let's just say, develops. In the opening, the floral bouquet, and from the floral bouquet, by the way, I detect here peony and a pink rose. The peony feels romantic, it feels feminine and very gentle. It's that type. It's almost like you were to dip your nose into dozens of peony petals, you know, like highly scented peony petals. They feel very soft, very velvety, very romantic almost. This is how the peony smells like. And you also have this beautiful, youthful pink rose facet. The type of rose accord you have here, it's a rose accord that feels young, that feels gentle, that feels soft, that feels romantic. It's almost like that pink garden style of rose, you know what I mean? So it's nothing overly rich, overly decadent, dark per se, or overly gourmand. I'd say it's definitely a floral take on rose. And it's that gentle type of pink rose, like your garden style of pink rose. So in the opening, I'd say these are the most dominant facets I detect. This is definitely a floral forward fragrance, the type of floral fragrance that feels modern in a sense. But even though it feels modern, like the blend feels pretty modern, I'd say at the same time it feels timeless in a way. Classy without being classic, you know what I mean? So it's not the type of fragrance that's a classic, for instance, like Coco Mademoiselle, you know, that very serious, sophisticated, you know. No, to me this is modern. It's classy in a way that it feels very elegant and sophisticated, but without feeling too mature or too rigid or too serious or too, you know, that type of floral forward fragrance. Yeah, as the fragrance develops, I'd say, of course, the bergamot facet fades away completely, but the green facet you had in the opening from the bergamot is now replaced by a very specific greenness, that freshly cut flower stem type of greenness. So this fragrance feels slightly pink from the beautiful peonies with the pink roses, slightly green from the bergamot in the opening, and then from this feeling like I told you, like you just freshly cut a flower stem and it exudes that cleaned around the edges raw greenness. This is the type of green accord you have here. something a little bit musky, you guys, like something powdery and musky, a very gentle, airy, breezy facet throughout the fragrance, and a pinch or two of something sweet. However, to me, I wouldn't say this is a sweet fragrance. For someone who loves sweet fragrances, this is more floral dominant than sweet, but it does have a pinch or two of something sweet deep in the background, I would say. Now, this is not a dark fragrance. This is quite a light and bright and breezy type of fragrance, that effortlessly chic and elegant and feminine fragrance. And again, baseline is, if you love the DNA of Delina, I would actually highly encourage you to try this fragrance. I'm sure from the presentation clip you saw how beautiful the presentation for this fragrance is. The holiday season is coming up. If, let's just say, why not for you or for someone close to you, be it your sister, your cousin, your mother, your friend, your coworker, I don't know. But for someone who has a taste for this type of fragrances, this is a beautiful option to take into account. The floral is done right. It's not too floral, it's not too citrusy, it's not too green. I'd say it's a beautiful and harmonious blend. But it is for the girlies who love floral fragrances, or for the women who love floral fragrances. Is this type of dress it up, dress it down, day-to-day grab-and-go kind of fragrance? Is the type of fragrance that you could wear when you're going to work in the corporate environment? Or is that type of fragrance that you could apply after work? Perhaps you're going to a date night, I don't know, you're going to meet someone, you're going with your friends, you're going to grab a bite somewhere in town. But I'd say the overall let's just say aspect, I feel like that women should keep in mind when it comes to this fragrance. This to me is more of an elegant fragrance, even though it's nothing like Coco Mademoiselle from Chanel, that very serious, rigid type of elegance. However, this is still very elegant to me. I can't say that I would picture this fragrance with sportswear or with a very like tomboyish outfits, you know, or like androgynous outfits perhaps. To me, I would picture this fragrance on a woman who takes extremely good care of herself. Perhaps she wears heels on a day-to-day basis. I don't know why. She likes to dress very elegant and put together. Office attire, but make it very feminine, you know? Yeah, and elegant. This is this fragrance, you guys. And for some reason, every time I smell this fragrance, like when I close my eyes and I'm smelling this fragrance, I don't know why, I always have this this image or this scenario, let's just say, in my mind, when, let's just say, you are going to one of your friends, like let's just say one of your best friends' birthday parties. You are dressed very elegant, you are wearing high heels, your hair is done, your makeup is done, very tasteful, more on the minimalistic side, but still like very put together, you know, like on point. And you're going to one of those very like fancy and luxurious flower shops to purchase a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and you choose to purchase, let's just say, a peony with pink roses, a bouquet of flowers, and you sit right next to the florist right as she cuts the flower stems from the peonies and from the pink roses, and you get that beautiful raw greenness, but a very specific, again, cleaned around the edges, raw green flower stem type of greenness. This is how the fragrance smells like if you close your eyes and you're trying to imagine what I've described to you, this is how the fragrance smells like. If you resonate with that, what I've described to you, you will enjoy this fragrance for sure. There's nothing to not enjoy about this fragrance, especially if you're a floral girly. This is for you. Extremely affordable, by the way, beautiful presentation, and the scent profile, like the actual scent, it feels very smooth, very, what's the word? It feels refined in a way. You know, it doesn't feel sharp, it doesn't feel flat, it doesn't feel alcoholy. So I'd say all in all, beautiful fragrance. Now, let me quickly mention performance. Performance is average anywhere from 4 to 5.5 hours on my skin. So guys, those were my thoughts about Hawaa Pink. Let's move on to the next fragrance. Let's move on to Exotic Paradise. Again, I will show the presentation and then let's talk about how this fragrance smells like. The notes for Exotic Paradise. Let me spray this fragrance somewhere over here. And this fragrance, you guys, is very interesting because even though it reminds me of a handful of fragrances from the designer section, but I still feel like what they did with the DNA, it results into a unique fragrance to my nose. This opens up with a burst of a fresh accord. It feels extremely airy, borderline ozonic, leaning very light, very bright, very musky, very airy, very fresh. And I feel like the fresh accord, you should give it, let's just say 4 to 5 minutes to settle a little bit, because in the first, let's just say 1 to 1.5 minutes, it can kind of feel like it overpowers a little bit all the other notes. And what I mean by this is that I'm not able to pick up much behind this fresh accord, but if you give it, let's just say a few minutes, the fragrance opens up on your skin. But yeah, like I've mentioned, in the opening is the fresh accord that I detect the most. Crisp, bright, airy, light, something a little bit powdery with a gentle, crisp red fruity accord. I'd say it's a very abstract red fruity accord. When I smell this fragrance, it's not like I can pinpoint, oh, this has raspberries or cranberries or anything in particular. It's just I detect this very abstract, like a sweet and slightly crisp of a red fruity accord that adds a gentle fruity touch that lifts again a little bit the DNA. And behind this fresh and fruity facet, I detect a white floral bouquet. Think something like a very, very bright and airy jasmine mixed with something from an orange blossom, because I do detect a very gentle orange-like facet in the background. This has something from Prada Paradox, this has something from Olympia, this has something from Fatin Maroon from Afnan, this has something from Libre from Yves Saint Laurent, without following any of these directions to the T. It just, let's just say, bits and pieces from these fragrances, but how they blended everything, it results into a unique fragrance to my nose. But even though this starts extremely fresh, and I told you, to me the opening is not even the best part of this fragrance. I'd say from the heart till the dry down, this fragrance and the way it evolves, it's a very beautiful fragrance. It's a very designer-esque type of blend. Yeah, but the word that describes this fragrance is casual. I can't really say sporty because it doesn't smell sporty to me, but it's that effortlessly casual and feminine fragrance, day-to-day type of fragrance. You can wear this one at your high school, to work, to university, after work, running errands, going for a quick bite in town, going for a coffee, going for a walk, any type of occasion basically that requires a fragrance that feels very modern yet casual and feminine. This could be one of those fragrances, you guys. But let me tell you how it smells once it gets a chance to develop a little bit. So what happens is this burst of freshness from the opening starts to tone down more and more until you lose it completely to my nose. And I'd say it's the white floral bouquet that moves forward. But again, a white floral bouquet, again, think something very trendy, very modern, very designer-esque. I'd say it's this type of white floral bouquet that you have in fragrances like My Way, like Prada Paradox. Is this type of DNA, you know, nothing overly challenging, nothing overly, you know, complicated, quite a simplistic, straightforward, modern white floral accord, but it's that specific white floral accord. And here I detect, like I've mentioned, jasmine and orange blossom, paired with something a little bit vanillic, but not a very gourmand leaning vanilla, just a pinch or two of something vanillic to add a little bit of sweetness and somewhat of a roundness to the composition, a pinch of two of something musky, powdery, but deep behind in the background, and that specific, very, again, designer-esque type of dry yet bright woody accord. I'd say this is how the fragrance smells like in the heart, of course with that crisp red fruity facet in the background. So I'd say it is something from a red fruity accord, that beautiful white floral bouquet, a pinch of two, something vanillic, that very designer-esque type of dry woody accord, something a little bit musky, powdery. All this result into a fragrance, like I've mentioned, that feels modern, casual, feminine. I can't really say that it's that type of sophisticated fragrance, for instance, like Hawwa is, but it's that type of fragrance that's very casual and trendy and trending in a way that you could dress it up, you could dress it down. Like the vibe of it is pretty casual, laid back in a way, but you could definitely dress it up, let's just say, if the occasion calls for it. Yeah, this is pretty much how the fragrance smells like to me, you guys. I'd say as the fragrance stays on your skin, that vanilla starts to shine a little bit more, the florals, let's just say, go a little bit more abstract, and that woody accent, that very dry yet bright of a woody accord, let's just say, is a little bit more pronounced. Even though I can't really say that it's my style of fragrance, or is that type of fragrance that I would reach for, because my taste goes into a bit of a different direction. But again, if you have a taste for fragrances like Prada Paradox, something from Olympia, the vibe of Libre, Fatin Maroon from Afnan, again, it has something from Fatin Maroon without smelling like, actually smelling like Fatin Maroon, you know. It's a pretty balanced blend, you know, like the fruitiness doesn't overshine the floral part. I mean, look, pretty balanced, let's just say, without taking the opening into account, because in the opening the fresh accord for my liking was a little bit too dominant, you know. I would have preferred to smell a little bit of the other notes in the opening, but you guys, the way it evolves and the way it dries down, it's a very harmonious blend. A little bit of something red fruity, a little bit of the floral bouquet, a little bit of the vanilla, but the vanilla, it's not that cupcakey, gourmand, overly rich, overly edible, let's just say, style of vanilla, you know. Again, it's that designer S type of vanilla that you have in Prada Paradox, that you have in My Way, that you have in all these designer blends with a white floral accord, with a little bit of vanilla and something woodsy. I'd say this is how the fragrance dries down. Those were my thoughts on this fragrance. Again, performance, I'd say it's average, you guys. I don't think this is the type of fragrance that lingers and lingers and lingers. Again, I'd say anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5, 6 hours at maximum on my skin. Of course, it depends how I prep my skin and everything like this, but the performance for this fragrance is average. However, for the price, I don't think you can really complain. It's not the kind of fragrance that fades away in an hour or two, but it's neither the type of fragrance that lingers and lingers and lingers. You know what I mean? So yeah, those were my thoughts on Exotic Paradise. By the way, you guys, if you have tried any of the fragrances that I will be discussing in today's video, I would love to hear your feedback on the fragrances, so make sure to put them in the comment section. Now let's move on to the next fragrance. Let's move on to Supremacy Gala. Let me show you the presentation and then I will tell you everything I want to tell you about this fragrance. Okay, so this fragrance is from the Supremacy line, a line that has a lot of fragrances, from which I've tried quite a few, guys. Even though I feel like the fragrances I've tried are a little bit more on the, let's just say, edgy, unisex, leaning masculine direction, but you can find in this collection, in particular in the Supremacy line, a lot of fragrances that are not afraid to be very loud, very unapologetic. Let's just say some are more of an acquired taste. I feel like this line has a little bit of everything, and this is the latest addition to this line, Supremacy Gala. And to me, you guys, even though like I will add a note for the fragrance here, like looking at the notes, you might think this is nothing, you know, very unique, but when I tried this fragrance, there's not one fragrance that I could tell you that this shares similarities with. And also, it's a very hard to describe fragrance. Like, I don't know, I've tested it and tested it and tested it, and I still don't know how to describe it to you in a way that you can actually imagine everything I'm smelling here. Yeah, let me just spray this fragrance. So this, I feel like it's the loudest. This fragrance, as well as the next fragrance, Mystique Bouquet, are the loudest fragrances for today's video. Alright guys, this fragrance opens up with an explosion of effervescent red fruity facets, you guys. They are crisp, they are present, they are red, and they are fruity, and they are effervescent. So right from the opening, this has a lot of dimension and vibrancy to it, and I also detect a citrus accord that again is that style of like sweet and sour bergamot with something like a mandarin orange. Is that type of citrusy accord, so something slightly sweet and sour with something very sweet, but it adds again even more vibrancy paired with the red fruity facet, you know. So yeah, this fragrance opens up in such a vibrant and effervescent and layered type of way. It feels like an explosion of red fruity facets that feel extremely fun and uplifting and light-hearted and happy in a way with the citrusy part. But yeah, this fragrance in the opening is definitely the lightest, the breeziest, the airiest, because as the fragrance, let's just say, evolves on your skin, it gets much denser and much richer. But yeah, in the opening are these two main aspects that I detect: the citrusy part on one hand and that red fruity facet. The red fruity facet feels very effervescent, I have to say, with something a little bit musky and powdery, with again some very gentle abstract white florals in the background. And it has something like sweet and tangy almost. Yeah, I do detect a gentle tangy facet about this fragrance. As the fragrance stays on your skin and here on paper as well, like I've mentioned, the fragrance gets richer and denser, you guys, and you still have this beautiful red fruity facet, but what happens to me, I start to detect a lot more of the vanilla that not only adds sweetness, I'd say moderate sweetness. It's not a very light, bright cupcake vanilla, neither a very dark, deep vanilla pod, vanilla essence type of vanilla. I'd say it's a vanilla that adds a little bit of roundness, a little bit of sweetness, and richness, you guys. It adds richness to the fragrance. So the overall base of the fragrance, I'd say, is made of this vanillic caramelly combo with a gentle dry woody facet in the background. And on top of this combo, you have the bouquet of white florals that feel very abstract and breezy, but now, because the fragrance got much richer, it doesn't feel like it's this light and bright and airy fragrance. It feels like a pretty dense and rich and thick fragrance because of the caramel and of the vanilla, with light, bright, breezy accents from the floral bouquet and from the fruity part, from the red fruity part. And as it develops, you guys, it reaches a point where it's really hard to describe what I'm smelling, because I'm smelling all that I have described so far, but I also detect this tropical fruity facet in the background. I'm not really sure where is it coming from. I know this fragrance has listed a frangipani note. I can't say that I'm very familiar with frangipani fragrances, but what I can tell you is that it does have a gentle tropical fruity facet as the fragrance develops. So you have something from a red fruity accord with vanilla, with caramel, something somehow a little bit creamy lactonic without fully going into the lactonic department. But it's so interesting, you guys, because to me this smells pink and red. Pink, like red from the fruity accord, and pink, where do I get the pink aspect from? Pink, I guess, because of this happiness that it exudes. I'd say this is a very bubbly, happy, uplifting, fun type of fragrance. Definitely for the summertime. The hotter, the better. I couldn't really picture this fragrance during cold season. I feel like it's a little bit too fruity, too citrusy, too sweet, too summery, too tropical leaning for the winter. I feel like in winter this DNA wouldn't do much justice. However, this, when I smell it, it makes me think of summer, like spring and summer. But even more so summer, you guys. I really like how the fragrance evolves, even though I do like what they did with the opening. But once the fragrance evolves, it gets much denser, much creamier, much richer. And it's such a beautiful contrast between the sweet, rich, gourmand leaning accords from the vanilla and from the caramel, let's just say, and what they add to the fragrance, and with something slightly creamy and tropical that I can't really pinpoint, but I do smell it. And with that sweet and crisp and slightly tangy of a red fruity facet. It has, again, a lot of dimension, this fragrance. It feels very layered, I have to say. It doesn't feel like a fragrance that's flat. Yeah, this is fun, this is feminine, this is girly, this is bubbly. I can't really see that it feels juvenile, but I can't really see that it feels mature either. To me, this just embodies a holiday mood, you know, you're like very carefree, you're bubbly, you're laughing, you're just enjoying your time, you're having a good time, you feel radiating because of the sun, you know what I mean? This is the fragrance to me. Yeah, I don't really know what other fragrance to put into a similar scent family with this fragrance. I genuinely don't know. I'd say in my mind Yara Candy, but it's much more complex than Yara Candy, you guys. Yara Candy follows a bit of a different direction. Test it, definitely test it. If you, let's just say, if you're on the hunt for a summery fragrance that feels, again, carefree, you guys, fun, uplifting, happy, bubbly, everything of this, and very feminine at the same time, test this fragrance. But again, if you have a taste for fragrances like Yara Candy, Wave Now for Women, Anab from Ahmed Al Maghribi, Love Story from Ahmed Al Maghribi, and yeah, I don't know, but see, compared to these fragrances, this smells very different and unique. But yeah, test it. I think it's a beautiful release. It's a very specific energy that this fragrance has to me. It's this very summery, carefree, you know, type of vibe. And very girly and pretty and pink, you guys. This to me smells pink, but I cannot really pinpoint why it smells pink. But yeah, so those were my thoughts on this fragrance. Now let me briefly mention the performance. The performance of this fragrance is amazing, you guys. This, I feel like it's the loudest from the 4 fragrances that I have tried. Look, this is a type of fragrance, I'd say on my skin it lasts around 6.5 hours. But on clothes, you guys, this is the type of fragrance that lasts beautiful on clothes. The scent lingers and lingers and lingers. I have a, let's just say, a jacket. I don't really know how this is called in English, but let's just say a jacket that I wear at home during winter time, let's just say when it's a little bit chilly. And when I was testing this fragrance, I actually decided to, you know what, let me just spray this fragrance here, everywhere basically, and let's see how it evolves and how it performs. And I have to say, the second and the third day, I kept getting whiffs from this fragrance of the scent profile. So the scent lingers on your skin, lingers on your clothes. So performance, I'd say it's above average when it comes to this fragrance. So yeah, those were my thoughts about it. Extremely feminine. I told you the energy. Let's move on to the last fragrance, you guys, and let's move on to a fragrance that I received quite a lot of questions myself. This is Mystique Bouquet. Again, I will show the presentation, or let's just say the unboxing part, and then I will tell you how this fragrance smells like to me. So for this fragrance, I would recommend anyone who's interested in this fragrance, test it first. I will add the notes here on the screen. If you look at the notes, you might be tempted to say that this is your typical bright, light, very effortlessly chic, modern, citrusy floral with something musky, woodsy, that type of vibe. But I'd say in the opening, you guys, for let's just say 5 to 6 minutes, this reminds me, I don't know why, in my mind, whenever I smell the opening, I'm thinking of a modernized chypre. You have the floral with the oak moss, but basically, how I could describe you this fragrance, like the best way I could describe you this fragrance, imagine you have something from a sparkling bergamot that feels a little bit refreshing, but extremely airy and bright. Not really that sweet and sour type of bergamot, more of that very gentle, sparkling, effervescent bergamot that, like I've mentioned, feels extremely airy, with a gentle whiff of something peachy. But all of these airy, citrusy, peachy facets are covered in a thick coating of oak moss, you guys, and musk. This is the best way I could describe it to you. So basically, yes, you get the citrusy hint. Yes, you get the peachy hint. Yes, you get the floral hints as well, because I do detect some gentle white floral accents here as well. But basically in the opening, and from the opening, I'd say up until the heart part, they feel like they are covered in this thick, heavy coating of oak moss and musk. So it's almost like you smell all of these light, bright, breezy facets through that richer, heavier coating of oak moss and musk. So basically this fragrance has lots of greenness in the opening, but a very particular type of greenness is that dry, first of all, green and slightly mossy of a green facet. You know what I mean? And I'm guessing this is why whenever I smell this fragrance, I'm thinking in my mind of a modernized chypre fragrance, because you have the oak moss paired with the florals and this oily smelling crisp white musk in the opening. I can't say that I detect much sweetness, yet the peach does add a gentle sweet facet, but it's not that very rich and let's just say full-bodied peach accord. It's a very airy, again, airy, breezy, light, bright type of peach accord. But even though you might be tempted to think that this fragrance is very breezy and airy, but yeah, I guess you could say that it's held together by this coating of something oak mossy and musky. So I have to say, what they managed to create with the texture of this fragrance is extremely interesting, you guys. Like legit, it's almost like you smell all of these notes through a transparent, translucent coating of oak moss and musk. And this adds a whole different energy to the fragrance. Like, yes, the citrus and the peach and the florals add this effortlessly feminine and modern and slightly sophisticated, slightly elegant, but it's a very modernized take on an elegant fragrance. But because of the oak moss and because of what the oak moss adds to this fragrance, to me, this feels quite sophisticated, quite statement, quite serious in a way. It's quite of an assertive fragrance to my nose. Let me just tell you how this fragrance develops. So the more it stays on your skin, especially from the heart till the dry down, the fragrance changes. Slowly but surely you start to lose the citrusy part in the opening. The peach, I do still detect it. From the opening till the dry down, I do detect gentle peach-like whiffs. The floral bouquet is a bouquet that will linger as the fragrance develops. I start to detect much more of what went into, let's just say, creating this fragrance. So the oak moss moves into the background slowly but surely until you lose it completely to my nose. The musk is slightly more highlighted as the fragrance develops, and it adds this very breezy, airy, modern touch to the fragrance. The overall fragrance goes much more warm, and I'd say it's the peach and the florals that are the most highlighted with that musk in the background. And I also start to detect again this very, you know, this combo between something ambery, something woody, and ambroxine. So in a way it feels a little bit molecular. This is a very good word that describes this fragrance. This feels definitely molecular. It also has something transparent and translucent. It doesn't feel like a fully opaque type of fragrance. And I do start to detect this specific facet that something slightly ambery, but again, not a rich, full-bodied amber accord. That, think amber wood or amber mixed with oak moss mixed with a woody accord. That again, my camera decided to cut. So you guys, I'm not really sure what I was talking about when the camera cut. But I was speaking about how this fragrance, if the other fragrances are more or less your ageless fragrances, and what I mean by this is that I can't really pinpoint or like put an age to the fragrance in a way. This fragrance, I would say it's more mature, but not even mature like an indolic floral forward fragrance or anything like this. Mature energy wise, you guys. This feels serious, this feels modern, this feels feminine, but a very sophisticated and quite a bit of an assertive type of fragrance, if you will. Yeah, even though this does have a peachy floral accent that adds somewhat of a warm and more, let's just say, inviting energy about it, but then you have the oak moss that adds this very serious demeanor about the fragrance. Then you have this combo between something slightly ambery and transparent with ambroxine and that very gentle woody accord that adds this minimalistic and modern touch to the fragrance that feels pretty molecular, I would say. So yeah, this is a beautiful fragrance what they managed to create. I do feel like, let's just say from the heart till the dry down, this peachy floral part does remind me a little bit of La Fleur Bouquet from the same collection, from which, by the way, I feel like I've tried 3 out of 4 fragrances. I've tried Violet Bouquet, which is a beautiful inspiration if you have a taste for fragrances like Baccarat Rouge, extremely loud, you guys, extremely projecting, the type of fragrance that definitely like if you spray it, people around you will definitely be able to smell it. I had it in my collection for my taste as someone who, let's just say, is not really the biggest fan of Baccarat Rouge. It was a little bit too much, but I gave it away to my best friend. She loved it. She used it up completely. And she told me she received a lot of questions about that fragrance. So yeah, I can see why, especially if you love the DNA. Try that fragrance. But what I wanted to tell you, this does share a very common floral accord with La Fleur Bouquet. But I'd say the floral accord shines more from the heart till the dry down, as that oak mossy musky coating starts to tone down and to fade away eventually. So as you guys, this is what I think about this fragrance. This is how it smells like. I told you the energy. Now performance, you guys, performance is above average when it comes to this fragrance. Again, I'd say on my skin it lasts more than 6 hours. Look, I'd say anywhere from 5.5 to 6.5 hours. You know, usually longevity on my skin is not really the best, but the projection of this fragrance is very nice, and I think it's because of what they did with this molecular ambroxine, ambery, woody accord, and with the oak moss, because this fragrance feels like it truly projects in a way. Yeah, what I would tell you, if you're a woman and if you're looking for, let's just say, more of a signature worthy day-to-day type of fragrance that you could wear it, I'd say, with more elegant outfits for some reason. I don't know if I could really imagine this fragrance with a very sporty outfit, you know. I do think this is more elegant, and the type of elegance this fragrance has is not really that effortlessly elegant type of fragrance. It's more of a serious elegant fragrance, something a little bit more of a statement type of fragrance. So yeah, if you're a woman, if you're on the hunt, let's just say, for a floral forward fragrance that has a lot of character, if you're not afraid of oak moss, if you love something from La Fleur Bouquet, but think the floral bouquet, but deconstructed and then reconstructed in a whole different manner, I would say. You know what I mean? Test this fragrance, definitely test it. I feel like for this collection, the presentation is impeccable, you guys. The bottles are impeccable. This collection in general, again, would make a beautiful gift if you know someone in your life who has a taste for the type of fragrances I have described. Definitely take this one into account if you're on the hunt for a gift that's perfumey, first of all, because we are talking about fragrances, but that's affordable, but it looks and feels and smells luxurious. Take this collection into account. Those were my thoughts on these 4 fragrances. If you have tried any of these fragrances, let me know how you feel about them. So as you guys, let me think. I feel like I've mentioned everything I wanted to mention. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you have any questions, by the way, for any of these 4 fragrances, Put them again in the comment section and I promise I will get back to you. Thank you so much to the team from Afnan for sending me these beautiful fragrances. I had such a fun time exploring them, even though you guys, you know I am very familiar with fragrances from Afnan, because not only that I've reviewed a lot of them here on my channel, I have a lot in my collection, but I've also tested a lot of their fragrances. You guys, I have so many samples and decants of their fragrances, but it always feels nice, you guys, when a brand reaches out to you and appreciates your work. And even though, let's just say that I know that my approach when it comes to fragrance reviewing perhaps is not everyone's cup of tea, especially considering that I try to encourage as much as I can people to test fragrances first, to start with a sample, to start with a decant, you know, instead of blind buying fragrances. But still, you guys, it's such a beautiful feeling when a brand that I spoke so much on my channel about reaches out to me. Yeah. And also a brand that I love, you guys, you know, it's like Afnan is a brand that I love. It's one of the first brands I've talked about here on my channel. Yeah. What a beautiful feeling. So thank you so much to the team from Afnan. Let me not make the video any longer. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram if you want, but I will see you in my next video. But until then, I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye guys.